else so soon, but the Hudson River was calling us. And we're headed out on an inbound tide. But the winds are at a flag right now. The winds aren't blowing at all. It's dead calm. Very hazy looking out at the ocean. In the river we were making 7 knots at 1,000 RPMs. Going through the inlet with the incoming tide, we're down to about 4 knots at the same RPMs. The Shark River Inlet is a good inlet with several marinas just west of the bridge. As we head north is Sandy Hook Lighthouse. It was built in 1764 to aid ships with navigation around the hook, and the light is still a functioning aid to navigation. This is the oldest operating lighthouse in America. The point has always been thought of as an important military position also. The hook is also one of the stopover points for the migration of monarch butterflies as they head to Mexico. During the Revolutionary War, it was occupied by the British. And during the War of 1812, a temporary fort was built. Then in 1859, a permanent fort began construction. However, it was never completed as technologies made it obsolete. Then from 1874 to 1919, the area was used as an Army proving grounds to test weapons. The shore area is also a great place for fishing and fun in the sun. And the Park Service holds numerous activities throughout the year. In 1890, the first of many gun batteries were built. Fort Hancock was officially established in 1895 to protect the New York Harbor shipping channels. Many of the guns were disappearing. That is, they would raise and fire and then lower behind concrete protective walls. Intercontinental ballistic missiles Nike missiles became outdated, and the fort was deactivated in 1974 and was turned over to the National Park Service. It's under massive renovation. And if you head west around the Hook, you'll enter the Intercoastal, and you'll see on the Highlands the Twin Lights. The Highlands and the Twin Lights rise 200 feet above sea level. The Highlands had been used for signaling purposes as early as 1746. The lights from the Twin Towers can be seen as far as 22 miles out at sea. There's also been reports that the lights were seen as far away as 70 miles when the lights were reflected off of low-lying cloud banks. The light station was used until it was decommissioned by the Coast Guard in 1949. Its sophistication and aid to navigation became the model for many of the lighthouses in the nation. Today it's a museum and features well-interpreted exhibits of lighthouses, light-saving services, and other memorabilia. In addition to your basic charts, you may want to have several other publications along with you, such as the Hudson Valley Tourism Waterfront Map and Following the Hudson River Lighthouse Trail brochure. But before you go cruising around, it's advisable to check the U.S. Coast Guard website to see if there are any restricted areas. The time we were cruising New York Harbor, we had several security zones. I was able to print this information off of their website. The final check of our cruising plan, and we're ready to take off. I use Sandy Hook, New Jersey, and Coney Island as my mark for entering New York Harbor. The first glimpse you get of the harbor will be Coney Island. The next site is the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. The bridge was opened in 1964. It's the second largest suspension bridge in the world. The bridge is so long that the seasonal contraction and expansion of the steel cables caused the bridge to be 12 feet lower in the summer than in the winter. The bridge connects Brooklyn with Staten Island and is a major link to Long Island. This area is also very busy with commercial and recreational boaters, plus the ferry boats, especially around the Staten Island ferry. As we headed north, the New York skyline was very impressive. Even though it was a little hazy, the sight was breathtaking. Another very busy area is around the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. The day we were in New York Harbor was a reopening of the Statue of Liberty. What an impressive sight. It arrived in New York in July 1885. It was delivered in 214 crates and 350 individual pieces. Now that's one big erector set. You know, the statue was actually a lighthouse in 1886 until 1902. Then it was transferred to the War Department in 1924 and transferred to the National Park Service. The island's name was not officially Liberty Island until 1956. There are 25 windows in the crown, and the tablet she holds is 23 feet 7 inches by 13 feet 7 inches, and the Roman numerals stand for July 4th, 1776. Just north of the Statue of Liberty is Ellis Island. In 1890, the House Committee of Immigration chose Ellis Island for the new immigration screening. As harsher immigration laws were imposed and immigration decreased, the facility was closed in 1954 and moved back to Manhattan. Ellis Island is now part of the Liberty National Park System. If you're thinking of spending some time in the city, you may want to consider Surfside 3 at Chelsea Pier, as it's close walking distance to many attractions. It's hard to miss the Empire State Building. This is such an enduring image. It's amazing how quickly the scenery changes from the city skyline to the majestic mountains of the Hudson River. The first lighthouse we come to is the Little Red Lighthouse, just beneath the George Washington Bridge. This was originally set on Sandy Hook, New Jersey, but was dismantled in 1917 and reconstructed around 1921. The Sing Sing prison is built on the site of an old silver mine and built from marble from the Sing Sing area. On November 26, 1828, the convicts were locked into their cells for the first time, and a Bible was furnished to each of them the next morning. The electric chair will always be associated with Sing Sing. It was first used in 1890 when Harris A. Simler was the first to be executed. Between then and 1963, 613 men and women died in the electric chair. Next is the Tappan Zee Bridge. The name comes from the Tappan Indians and the Dutch word zee, which means wide expanse of water.
Well, that's a large barge.
Yeah, it's a large barge. It looks like he's got a bunch of smashed cars on it. It's a little red tug that knew he could. Or was that the little train?
I think I can. I think I can. Just north of the bridge on the east bank is Terrytown. According to Washington Irving, the author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the name derives from Dutch farm wives complaining references to their husbands tarrying too long at the village tavern there.
British Major John Andre was captured here after Benedict Arnold gave him the plans for West Point. And who can forget The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving? The lighthouse was built on a small spit of land in 1883. The decision to build the lighthouse was in 1847. However, it took over 30 years for everyone to agree on the location of the light. In 1923, the General Motor automotive plant located along the river was expanded. This expansion changed the course of the river slightly, and the island became a peninsula. One of the more popular stopover points is Haverstraw. However, we decided to go a mile further and stayed at Stony Point Marina. The entrance to Stony Point Marina is not charted, but when you get closer to Stony Point Bay, you'll see that the channel is well marked. The Stony Point Lighthouse was built in 1826 and marks the beginning of the Hudson Highlands. It served as an aid to navigation until 1925 when it was decommissioned, and it was replaced by a steel tower at the base of the hill on the river's edge. In 1986, the light was restored, and in 1995, the interior was restored and is now open to the public. Thank you for joining us on our cruise on the Lower Hudson. We hope you'll join us next week as we continue our cruise north to Kingston, New York State's first capital.